But I want to get the Bears mini camp. We're going to start hot right now. Rome Odunze, Caleb Williams, day one. Everyone saw the highlights. Everyone heard the reports. I thought it's cool to see these two guys. Obviously, they've been playing and throwing, prior to this. But go out there, I know it's not against, the Bears defense. It's a bunch of tryout players, college players, but you get to see the talent on full display. And I think the one thing with Rome Odunze, I want to talk about that, Vic, and I'll kind of go to you with maybe the best, and maybe worst things you kind of saw over the weekend. But for me, I like day one Rome Odunze and how active that connection was. You can see it growing. You're going to see it probably the next, 3-4 months, of course, into the season. But, I mean, Rome Odunze played so hard on day one. And I know a lot of people, were upset. And I would jokingly said that the season was over when we heard about Rome Odunze and his hamstring tightness. Obviously, that's not the case. It's just precautionary. The guy was out there running routes, doing stuff he probably shouldn't have done. But at the same time, I love the connection. I love how often they went to each other in day one. And then I'm not concerned. I want to kind of leave that with you. Any concerns whatsoever?
No.
Rome Odunze.
The season's so far away. Like, it's not.
I'm not going to say the comparisons.
I was about to.
If you're a Bears fan, I don't even want to say it on this podcast.
I know. That's fair. That's fair.
I want to be the only Bears podcast to not bring up that.
All right, I will not say it, but it's not. I'm not.
But we know.
About that. Yeah. But I will. Just like most things with the Bears, because we haven't been good for a while, there's a lot of PTSD. We have a lot of trauma. So we see one thing and we kind of dramatize it. Like we're over dramatic with it because we've seen in the past, like, when one little thing happens, it normally dominoes into years of just pain.
But it's similar to like, it's so much to go off of, like, again, we're not going to say the name. It's a little bit here, I guess we can do, but it's similar to like, Caleb Williams and Justin Fields, where there was that comparison, like, they're the same player, but on surface level, maybe you can see that, like, average fan that doesn't really. No, these guys are completely different quarterbacks. And you saw that as you dove into the tape, into the offseason. And then, of course, you just listen how the coaches have spoken about him. And you look at DJ Moore, one of the biggest things. What is the biggest takeaway with working with Caleb Williams?
Anticipation.
Like, it's beautiful. That's what you want to hear. We didn't see enough of that with Justin. And again, I love Justin. We're going to get to that article later. But that's that right there, the key difference was interesting.
Well, you know what's also Mr. James on YouTube. Here. Yeah, Mr. James on YouTube said, I can't wait for that first Caleb run for a touchdown, throws on the crown, and bear claws everywhere in the crowd. I'm with it.
Dude, the bear claw. I guess we'll talk about that.
Yeah, I like it. Look, it is what it is. Like, if you think about celebrations, like if you were to take it away from like the actual sport and in the moment, you're like, that's dumb. You think of Aaron Rodgers double check, right? Discount double check. Like, if you saw someone do that in public, you'd be like, what are you doing? Like, celebrations are cringe. If you just see someone getting out there for no reason, to no music or anything, just doing the giddy, you'd be like, this is awkward, right? They are obviously kind of cringe, but that's the point. When he scores a touchdown and does it, it feels way different than when you see a photo of it. Let's be real, right? Because there's more context to it. I promise you, people will actually love it once we're like, just like with anything, winning cures all. But when we're having exciting plays and they do it, people are going to eat it up. And I think the funny part of it now is, like, at first we're kind of like, oh, Caleb kind of came with it on the fly, which you did. Then Rome's doing it. You kind of got like two people, whatever. Okay, then there's you start seeing it more. Keenan Allen, doesn't do it the first time at the Chicago Sky game, then throws it up again. You know what I mean? We caught him there. And then you see the best photo, I think, is the rookies that we drafted. But you're going to pull it up here. You got the main one that has everyone in it, right? Now, everyone's not doing it in it, which is totally fine. But you have a majority of them throwing up the bear claw. And there's like 40 people in this.
And when I initially saw this photo, because my caption was like, everyone at Bears minicamp was throwing up the bear claw. I honestly thought everyone was. And then as I looked more into it, you got Odunze, who's probably, his hand's tired from doing it earlier. So you got to give him a break here. And then, you got Caleb laying down, just chilling.
You just love it. But you know what the best one is though, Dave? It was the photo even before that where it's Flus. It's Flus, it's Rome, it's Taylor, it's Caleb, it's Karan, and it's Poles. Oh, and Austin. So basically, all our draft picks are GM and our head coach.
Yeah.
So
well, I will say this: I like what Caleb's doing. I like the chemistry. I like the build, the locker room feel. I feel like it's just like this team's been together a little bit longer than just a couple weeks.
Yeah.
These rookies are really starting to. You're starting to see the impact from Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze onto this roster, and of course the vets aren't really in the building right now. So it's cool to see him take control, take command, kind of over the last couple of days here. So for me, the bear claw, I don't mind it. I don't care really. Honestly, I think it's a little. I think Rome said it, or who said it? I think it was Komet.
Komet said it. Yeah,
he said it's a little cheesy, but which I think is fair. But I think it is kind of fun. It's supposed to be fun, like you said. So I don't really care.
At the end of the day, it is bringing the team together in essence.
But I'd still want, as far as the celebration goes, the crown celebration just by itself. That's all.
Way better.
I don't need the bear claw.
But the thing is, that's
how is he going to celebrate
that?
He's just going to like.
They'll figure something out. I'm sure
he's just score, put them both up. Look at the fan. I don't know.
I don't know
how that works. Yeah,
they'll figure something out. But
or he'll maybe do like a Lambo leap and then like pose with the
claw.
with it. Yeah, something like that.
That would be funny. The thing is, though, the claw now can go to everyone. The crown is just Caleb. So, like, he created something that anyone can use now. You know what I mean? When we really didn't have anything. So, whether it's short-lived or not, it's fun. You know what I mean? It's cool.
Fun.
It just gets you excited. It's don't look at it and think it's more than what it is. But it's not like it's a negative, So
yeah. No, exactly. So where were we going with that? We're talking about Rome and Caleb's connection. So what are your thoughts over that? Just hearing that over the last couple of days, their press conferences and everything with them.
I'll say this, and I think with Rome, I feel like I kind of already knew this, but Rome kind of gives like a very mature type of, like when he did his presser, and I've seen his other pressers and things like that in interviews, he's very like put together, and so is Caleb. But what I like about both of them, not only the chemistry that they're building with each other, it seems like these guys have the right mental as well. Like Caleb talked about like the leadership. Everyone talked about the leadership quote. We posted as well, but where it's like right now I'm not leading. I need to follow first. I'm listening with 2 ears, taking in information. And when that time comes to be a leader, boom, I'm going to be, when that opportunity comes, I'm going to step into that role. But right now I've got so much information I got to take in. I haven't even, this is your first day on the field, right? You can't come in here and just lead necessarily from the start. So I thought that was a very mature and realistic answer. So that kind of compared with how Rome spoke as well. It's like the talent alone obviously makes you feel very good about these guys, but the talent mixed in with their headspace and mixed in with the connection it seems like they're building, it's kind of hard to like have any negative thoughts.
That even translates to the coaching staff. Like they're a bunch of just not professionals. I don't think that's the right word, but it's like they're just good. They're good people, good at what they do. Obviously a little coach speak in there, maybe a little too much, but like they're just really, I think, smart. And I'm not worried. Like Flus, I guess I was worried last year, but you saw the turnaround and everything. And of course, with his new look, we all joke about. But I just like everything that's kind of been brought in with everywhere. Special teams, Washington, and then you got the new DC. You got Flus continue to call plays. So I want to get back to that quote because that's a really good point. Leadership, because I think that obviously going into this draft, everyone was hyper analyzing, including ourselves, I guess, a little bit about Caleb and how he could maybe mix into the locker room, which has been seamless and been really cool to see and hear these guys talk about. I think Karan had a really cool quote that I'll bring up here in a minute, but the quote that you were referring to on leadership, you almost got it perfect, but I wanted to just get the whole entire quote out there. It's just so good. And I did not expect it. Like I did not that, I thought Caleb was anything bad or anything. I did not expect him to say something like this. So I said, to be a great leader, you got to learn how to follow first. Right now I'm following all the vets, having both ears open and my mouth shut. I think it's that last part, both ears open and mouth shut. This guy is a superstar coming into this league. And the fact that he just gets it, he gets, the dynamic, he understands he has to be unaware. He has to be a leader right at the quarterback position. It's just part of that role. It's one of the most important, obviously, positions on the field, if not the most important. And the fact that he just comes into this, humble, humility, and it makes a lot of sense. It kind of reminds me of like the Jalen Johnson quote that kind of got spun around because I don't think he really meant it, but none of that Hollywood stuff coming in, right? You kind of start from ground zero again, right?
Well,
no matter what you did in college.
I mean, think about it. You're coming into a league and this is a brutal league, right? You put your heart and soul and sweat into this, right? So you're coming into a league of people that have been getting beat up for 3 to 4 years. Could you imagine someone coming in and just being like, oh, whatever, this is my ship now? And it's like, bro, you have not been through the gauntlet yet. Even if I'm not, me personally, right? This might just be my take, but even if I'm not like a starter on the team and a rookie comes in and acts like, they're all of this. And it's like, bro, I haven't even seen you make it through training camp, which is tough as hell. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be like, you're doing too much. So obviously I didn't think any of the people that we're going to bring in was going to act like that. Cause I don't think, like, Poles talks about, like, you have to love football. Like, he's always talked about from the jump, like, they put a lot of emphasis on bringing in football players, people that have that right mindset. Obviously talent's important too, don't get me wrong, but they are really like, no, we need the true people that are like, know this game, that love this game, and that like understand the dynamic of this game. And you can see that with Caleb and Rome. And not only that, you can see that with the past rookies that he's brought in, whether they've been, let's say they may not been like the best rookies, or they maybe haven't reached their peak yet, right? But from a headspace standpoint, everybody that he's drafted, there has been no drama. There hasn't been any type of stuff that's come out about the players that Poles has drafted. The only time there was drama was about, obviously, the Fields debate, which had nothing to do with the players. And then Claypool, that's it.
Yeah.
But again, that's not someone he drafted, right? That was a trade. So that's his biggest loss. We all know that. But I say that to be like, the quote was surprising, right? Because I'm like, oh, wow, that's like, okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
But I'm not surprised that the guys he's brought in are the right guys to be on this team and at some point lead. You know what I mean? So hopefully that keeps going, because that's how you build championship team. That talent mixed in with hard workers and leaders, it's going to be hard to stop.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out. Jerome, I think, is it Jerome or Jerome?
Jerome.
DWC dropped his hype video. I haven't watched it. I liked it just because I know I'm going to like it, of course. But I haven't. I'm going to circle back to it. Yeah, it was Rome Odunze. Check it out on YouTube. And then, of course, he has it on his Twitter as well.
Yeah, yep.
So back on Caleb Williams here. So 2 practices in, right? Oh, what was it?
It's Jeremy, by the way. I saw a comment.
So. Oh, Jeremy.
Jeremy. We've been saying wrong this whole time. Appreciate it. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Jeremy. I actually just followed him on Twitter as well, I think, because I think it was him. Last name's pretty unique. So, 2 practices in, which it is just rookie mini camp. But here's a quote from Kiran
Amagaji. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He goes, this is about Caleb Williams. He goes, he's a big presence in the locker room already. He's a good leader. He's a person that works hard. He's always the first one in the morning. When I get here, he's here already, which you love to hear. I know we hear it a lot, but that's good. That's not always the case. But of course, Caleb, we all know about his work ethic. And he said, when I get here, he's here already. So I think he's going to be a great leader for us on this team. So fellow rookie draft mate there, saying some really cool things about him. So
all we've heard is positive stuff. So again, is there negative? He hasn't played it down. I get it. He hasn't played it down, but so far, and this is kind of like an overarching theme, which I think is really good, which applies to kind of like Rome as well. What we expect from them, we're seeing, right? So we draft 2 high picks. Caleb, and we'll talk about like his actual throws and whatnot, but Caleb's looking good in practice. Rome's looking good in practice. They're both presenting themselves well, right? Everyone else talks about these 2 in a positive light. So you're like, okay, we expected these 2 top picks to be talented, to be leaders of men. And it seems like that's the case. And that has not always been the case, especially with us, with some of these top picks we brought in or top talent we brought in. So the fact that there's like no, like you could view this and be like, oh, this is boring, or none of this is out of the ordinary. Good. That's what I want. That's exactly what we want. We don't want all that extra stuff that's sparking conversations, because typically that means something is happening that we're not expecting. And typically it's in a negative light. That's something bad is happening. So I'm just happy that these highlights that came out of Caleb, these highlights that came out of Rome are good. You're like, okay, yeah, there's no defense. Yeah, of course. But guess what? Caleb's throwing beautiful dots. I mean, we could talk about that, right? 2 days in a row, when they're doing the go routes and he's throwing those 40-yard passes, they're all
seamless,
right seamless, right? And you're like, oh yeah, there's no defense. But guess what? We've definitely had quarterbacks in here before where it's not the case. Or you could go look at, not to talk about the rivals over here, but if you go look at some Vikings highlights I've seen, and it doesn't mean that JJ McCarthy is not going to be good, but they're having conversations or people are talking about them like, look at some of these throws. Oh my gosh. Again, it doesn't mean that you're going to be bad in the NFL. It's practice. But it's a distraction, I guess, maybe from the fan standpoint, probably not in the building, but like, I'm just happy we aren't dealing with that. You know, balls look good.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Good passes, great catches. Okay, cool.
I like when it comes to Caleb, and I think Rome is as advertised. And when you can see the difference between, I mean, these guys are tryout players, college players. They have some experience there, but majority of them are not going to be on the roster. They're not going to be here. But it's good when you see a difference between what you should top 10 pick in Rome Odunze. You would hope to see that, but I think there was about how Rome brings in the ball, right? Or he uses his hands at the lat. He kind of keeps them down, right? When the ball's coming, so DB can't see. You saw, I think it's a really good breakdown on Twitter. I forgot who did it. It's escaping me, but you saw that right there. And you saw the other receivers, just kind of hands out. You just see the difference, even if it's subtle. And of course, Caleb Williams, the one thing I noticed with him, just from everything, was just the release and how effortless it is. Like you hear about it, but it's just so different than Justin. And I hate to bring it up. It's just like Justin was our last quarterback. He was the quarterback of the Bears. And of course he had some flaws, and it's like Caleb is just so, I feel like he doesn't have some of these things that were just such big flags,
well, that's why he was
issues with.
Yeah, I mean, that's why he's the number one prospect. You know what I mean? That's what he's been the number one prospect for 2 years. So yes, it is. It is nice. We are very lucky to have fallen into this situation. And then along with not just the talent aspect that you said, but I'm just so happy there is, like, we went through an offseason that, let's be real, like from a fan perspective, I'm speaking just on the fans. We went through kind of a crazy offseason of like drama and high emotions and things like that. It's just nice that we turn that chapter. Someone comes in and it's just like, oh, great. You were the top prospect. You at least look good in practice. Great. Could you imagine if it was like he comes in and balls are hitting the ground and he's missing throws left and right? Could you imagine that? And then that would then spark the conversation again of like, well, why didn't we have Justin? We should get Justin. You know what I mean? So
a comment here on YouTube, Squeegee, he goes, they said he flicks the ball like Aaron Rodgers. And it's like, I've been a little hesitant because I don't like saying, like, Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback, right? But it's like, can we use any other comparison? But no, he really is. It just, his game, everything reminds you of Aaron, which would be kind of poetic that we get our own Aaron Rodgers to kind of maybe slay, Green Bay and maybe take the NFC North, never give it back, like Cole said. But I think that comparison, more and more, I'm really excited to see it in the NFL, obviously at this level. But it is, if we have our own Aaron Rodgers, man, it
makes sense.
About damn time.
That's the man he loved as a kid. Yeah. You don't think he took things from?
But not everyone can. Even if you like, he has the talent to emulate it.
Do that.
Not everyone can do it.
No, but I'm saying though, I'm not surprised where it's like you have the talent and then you chose to also, you knew you could do the same stuff that he does. And you're like, okay, I'm going to kind of build my foundation off of that. Right. Like you see that, and not to get off topic here, but you see that with the NBA. You look at Anthony Edwards right now. He kind of does a lot of stuff Jordan does, right? He has the talent to do it. It doesn't mean that he is or that he will be that great, but these guys are so talented. They're like, oh, they see, oh, Aaron Rodgers made that type of throw. Let me try to do that. And they're like, oh, I can do that. Let me try to build off that. So you're right. If we get an Aaron Rodgers type player, bro, after all these years of having nothing even close and having to face that man for what, 10 plus years. And even someone similar to him, Brett Favre, literally the 10 plus years before. Poetic justice, man. I just, Much needed. But got a lot to prove. We're not over here saying he is that. He's got a lot to prove. I think he has the ability to do that. And thankfully, Ryan Poles has built a beautiful roster. Not done yet, but at least on the offensive side, to be like, look, you've got a lot of help to do this, right? You don't have to put the weight on your back like Fields had to, which can lead to a lot of bad habits and whatnot. So that's nice to see as well.
Absolutely. I want to shift to another rookie here, Austin Booker. I think one of my bigger takeaways from this one was, I know there's no pads or anything like that, but there is you could see, first of all, just how insanely, he's kind of like he's just so like his size, like he's just so different. I know he's a 5th round pick and he is raw. I think that was a funny thing that I think all rookies are raw. I think is one of the Bears coaches who said that.
I mean, it is true. It
is true. But it's just like his length, you could see very, very clear, like why it's so, like why everyone's kind of pumped about Austin Booker. And then you get the story about him already talking. I think he already called up Max Crosby and, trying to get some tips and everything like that. But one of my biggest takeaways from him or from this camp is just Booker. Like I'm excited to see what he can do when the vets come around. Obviously, when the pads get here at training camp, preseason, I'm sure he's going to get a lot of reps there. So first of all, Austin Booker, what are your, you kind of probably feel the same boat here, right?
Yeah, no, I think I as a whole.
Let me see if I pulled the photo.
Yeah, as a whole, I like for most of these draft picks, I feel good about. And not only, it's not just my own assessment, because obviously I don't study these prospects like some of these analysts do, but like you hear like PFF, you hear some other analysts talking about not only Booker, but they love the
4th round for Booker.
Well, they said some people out there said that like some expected him to stay an extra year. And if he would have stayed an extra year, he'd probably have a 2nd round grade, right? So trading up to get him in the 5th was, some people view as like that was one of the best values of the draft. I'm not saying it's the best, but they're saying like that's good value. Again, those are just numbers. You got to come on the field and produce. But he does look good out there. I am excited to see him as well. You know who I'm also excited to see? This is obviously a down part of the OTAs is Karan. Like, I say that because his physical size is like dominant, but also I trust Poles because of what he was able to do with Braxton Jones, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, did Poles find someone in like 2 years that could easily fill in somewhere in the line and be dominant in that? Now, again, I want to say all of this though, because I know we're all excited and hyping all this up, which we should, but me and you, and I know you agree, it's like we do understand this is just OTAs. Right? They need to get out there. They need to put a hand in the dirt. They got to see them go against other players, vets, things like that. There's a long time to go. But from what we've seen so far, like I agree. Booker, I was excited when we picked Booker in the 5th because I actually knew that name. I didn't know about Karan, I'll be honest. But I thought that was a good I thought that was a good idea to go back up in the in the 5th round. And we only gave up the future 4th, which we got from a trade previously. So like overall, we didn't give up much to get a potential edge. And let's be real. And maybe this is a question for you, Dave. Do you think he gets snaps? Does he, I mean, we still got time, so we got to see if we bring in a free agent or something, but like that DE2 position is kind of open.
Yeah. It all depends on like maybe a Calais Campbell or, Yannick Ngakoue. It all depends on what they do here in the next month or two. But I think the goal, and I think the expectation is at least throughout the year he gets more and more reps, right?
Oh, has to.
His talent's good. Like Calais Campbell, great vet signing. I would love to see it. I already kind of wrote about it. I would like to see him 1-year deal similar to Yannick Ngakoue. Honestly, either one I would be fine with. I know some people are more don't want to do a rerun or run it back with Yannick, but I would be fine with that. And maybe Osberg. Eventually I would like to see Booker kind of overtake, maybe, compete for more snaps as the year goes on, just as far as progressing development. That's what you would like to see with Booker. And I think that he has all the tools, but like you said, we just have to see what he can do at this level. Hopefully it's quick, but we don't know. It may be a year or two before he really just is able to get on the field consistently, but
that's the thing with the NFL too. It's so hard to project. It's not like some other sports where it's like, you look at like these top 5 candidate prospects for the NBA, they come in and they dominate. You're like, oh yeah, everyone knows that. But like the NFL, you get last year with Puka Nacua, right? Obviously people thought Puka was what he was, he wouldn't have went in the 5th round, right? So these guys obviously have to come in, produce. They are all raw. I agree with the coach. Like, there's a lot to come. And obviously with rookies other than Caleb and maybe Rome, all of the rest of them, I'm like, I'm not expecting immediate results. Like, and some of them aren't going to be starters anyways. I wouldn't expect them to have immediate results. You're just hoping that, like, within year 2 and year 3, you're now hitting like your peak. Same thing we saw with like Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker, right? Mm-hmm. Jaquan was more impactful his rookie year, but Gordon, we were like, bro, you're getting burnt left and right, penalties. We're like, I don't know about that. Yeah. And then you saw he kind of passed the threshold and started to ball out. So yeah, it takes time. They all progress to different parts. So
exactly. I agree with that. I wanted to read, let me see here. It was going to be new DC Eric Washington on Austin Booker and just kind of on what he brings, you know, and what he's seeing firsthand with him. So his quote, he goes, length is a great advantage, talking about Booker, for every player on the field, especially a player on the edge. He said, what it allows you to do is advance and put the tackle under duress right away. He can gain ground. He can fully take the grasp and really force the protection mechanics against the person he's working against. The quicker you can get there, the quicker you can initiate the play, initiate the violence, the better. So essentially, hopefully his length, hopefully this speed, everything's going to translate. In a perfect world, we get a Max Crosby 2.0 or maybe like a watered down version. I mean, I'll take that. But it is fun. You just see these guys. You get to see them first on the field, everything like that. So it is fun to kind of you get football back a little bit. That's the most exciting part that I've been able to kind of enjoy the last couple of days. And now we get a little bit of a break. But, yeah, so I have another, I guess, Tory Taylor that I kind of quote that I thought was interesting. We're going to shift to Tory. Obviously, the Bears picked him in the 4th round. And there was some pushback about it. You know, you hear that. And he was a really short quote. He kind of elaborated on it, but he just talked about maybe he was asked about the skeptic or like the criticism or the critics, you know, living up to that. And he goes, basically, he was just like, pressure is a privilege, you know, and that right there, I love it. First of all, I mean, he's just a cool dude. You see him walk around, like I think they showed him walking in for the first time into Hallis Hall, and pair that with his Australian accent, and then of course, you know,
it's hard
he's
not
an
to
insane punter, right?
Yeah.
But I just like the idea, like, you know, that's a cool little rebuttal when it comes to, you know, he understands there's pressure. Like, obviously, he is very highly touted as far as his position.
He went in the 4th.
He's going to be
in the 4th.
He's a weapon, man. Like, he really is, and he wants the ball in his hands. You know, he didn't say that, but like that's the type of player he is. He wants to be able to change the game at any given moment. And so no better shot to do that than, of course, at the punter position, be able to pin these guys back. And you got the defense that the Bears have that could potentially be top 10, if not borderline top 5 defense coming into 2024. So I love the pick. I'm excited about it. I did hear he did have he had like the jitters day one, a couple shanks.
But that's what practice is. Yeah. Look, that's what practice is for, right? Like, at the end of the day, we can't say these rookies are raw and then not expect them to fuck up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the only one where I'm like, I don't want to see fuck ups, but it's going to happen is Caleb, because, you know, we want our quarterback to be amazing.
Well, everything is such an overreaction, you know.
Facts. But in reality, he's going to miss passes. You know, all they're rookies. These are 22, 23-year-old kids coming in that still have to learn the game. And so it's going to happen. And that's what practice is for as well. Vets mess up as well. That's the whole point. You just hope when it comes to game day, which is a long way away, that's why we're not overreacting here. But when it comes to game day, we see less of those mistakes, right? And that leads to more wins. But it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I promise you, Caleb is going to throw a bad ball. I promise you, Rome Odunze is going to drop a pass where he should have caught. I promise you, Austin Booker is going to get pushed around when he should. It's going to happen. So I think overall, though, I think the vibes are high and there's no drama. So for me, like, things are good. And no major injuries. I know Cron's got his hamstring, but they've known about that. But
Squeegee over here, that's funny. Talk about depth. The crocodile punter can sub at every position. That's funny. Yeah, I think you said it there. I think we'll leave it at that. Mini camp, Bears mini camp, a wrap, a rookie mini camp. Good vibes. You got some fun, really cool photos. You got the Bear Claw. You got the duo, the chemistry building between the two top 10 picks in Williams and Odunze. You got Austin Booker to be excited about. Karan. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot to look forward to. I'm excited for the next couple months here, especially if we can get Hard Knocks, of course. Like that's what I keep on saying it, but I'm really, really excited about that. But